$800,000 saved by 35 on a salary that most people would call ordinary. Is that actually possible, or is it the kind of claim that quietly relies on an inheritance, a windfall, or a cost of living that has nothing to do with your reality? I used to assume stories like this were either embellished or built on circumstances that could not be replicated. Then I looked at the actual step-by-step structure behind how it happens, and the number that genuinely surprised me was this. The average income of people who reach $800,000 in net investable assets by their mid-30s is not extraordinary. In case after case, it sits in the range of $60,000 to $90,000 per year, not a surgeon's salary, not a tech executive's equity package, a normal salary. And the mechanism that makes it possible is not secret, but it is specific in a way that almost nobody explains clearly. This video is that explanation. For most of my 20s, I saved inconsistently. Some months I saved something meaningful. Other months, the money just redistributed itself into the general texture of living without leaving much of a trace. I was not reckless. I was unstructured. And the difference between unstructured saving and the kind of deliberate, compounding aligned saving that builds $800,000 by 35 is not a difference in willpower. It is a difference in system. When I finally mapped out what the step-by-step process actually looks like, the sequence of decisions, the order they happen in, the specific structure that makes each year build meaningfully on the last, the path became visible in a way it had never been before. What I want to do in this video is make it equally visible for you. If this kind of financial clarity is what you come here for, subscribe and turn on notifications. There is more of this coming every week. Let me give you an analogy before we go through the steps. Imagine two gardeners planting the same seed on the same day in the same climate. One plants it in whatever soil is available, waters it when they remember, and moves it around based on what feels right that week. The other prepares the soil deliberately, waters on a consistent schedule, positions it for maximum light, and does not move it. Same seed, same conditions. Completely different outcomes by year 3. Building $800,000 on a normal salary by 35 is the second gardener's story. The income is the seed, real, sufficient, workable. The system is the soil, the water, the light. Most people have a perfectly good seed sitting in poor conditions. The step-by-step structure I'm going to walk you through is about changing the conditions deliberately in the right sequence, so the compounding has room to do what it does when you stop interrupting it. Here's the foundational number the entire step-by-step process is built around. To reach $800,000 by 35 starting from zero at age 22, a 13-year window with a historically average investment return assumption of 7% per year after inflation. The required monthly contribution is approximately $2,800 to $3,200. On a net income of $65,000 per year, approximately $5,400 per month. That represents a savings rate of roughly 52 to 59%. On a net income of $80,000, $6,600 per month, it drops to approximately 43 to 48%. Those numbers feel large, and they are not achievable through budgeting alone. They require a structural approach to housing, the largest single cost in most people's budgets, and a deliberate system for every income increase across the 13-year period. The second lever, what you do with every raise, is the one that makes the difference between a trajectory that reaches $800,000 and one that plateaus at half that.
The first step in the system, and the one with the highest leverage of any single decision in the entire 13-year process, is the housing anchor. In most people's financial lives, housing cost is set once and then treated as fixed background. You find somewhere to live, you pay what it costs, and the rest of your financial plan works around it. For someone building $800,000 on a normal salary by 35, housing is not background. It is the primary structural decision of the entire plan. The target that shows up repeatedly in research tracking high-saving households is below 25% of net income, not the commonly cited 30% guideline, 25 or below. On a net income of $65,000 per year, that means total housing cost, rent or mortgage, utilities, insurance, maintenance of no more than $1,350 per month. In many cities, that requires a deliberate choice: a smaller space, a less prestigious neighborhood, a housemate arrangement that most peers have already moved on from. This is the step where most people quietly decide the goal is not for them. But look at what happens when housing is held at 25% of net income versus 35%. The difference in monthly investable surplus is $1,000 or more. Over 13 years at 7% compounding, that single decision is worth somewhere between $200,000 and $250,000 in final portfolio value. One structural decision, made once, held consistently. If you're finding this useful, hit like. Walking through the exact step-by-step structure behind building $800,000 on a normal salary is one of the most detailed breakdowns this channel has put together. The second step is the one that determines whether the trajectory compounds or plateaus, and it is the most commonly skipped step in every savings plan I have ever examined. The raise protocol. Here is what naturally happens without it. You receive a raise. The raise feels like relief or reward, or both. Within 3 to 6 months, your spending adjusts upward to meet it. Your savings rate drifts slightly downward as lifestyle settles into the new income level. The raise evaporated. This is not a character failure. It is the default behavior of a financial life without a specific protocol for income increases. The raise protocol is simple in structure, genuinely difficult to hold in practice. Every income increase is split. 50% goes directly and automatically into the investment account before it ever touches your spending. The other 50% can be absorbed into lifestyle. You are not living like an ascetic. You are simply ensuring that every raise permanently widens the gap between income and spending rather than closing it. Research following moderate income households over a decade found that the ones who reached high net worth relative to their income almost universally had a version of this protocol in place. The portfolio line takes its steepest upward turn in years 7 through 13, precisely because raises captured at 50% and compounded forward produce disproportionate results in the final years of the accumulation window. Now let me show you what the complete step-by-step picture produces in actual numbers. Start at 22. Net income, $65,000. Housing held at 24% of net income. Initial savings rate, 45% of net income, approximately $2,440 per month. Investments in low-cost index funds inside tax-advantaged accounts. Raise protocol applied to every income increase across the 13-year period, with average income growth of 3% per year. By year 5, age 27, the portfolio sits at approximately $170,000. By year 8, age 30, approximately $340,000. By year 10, age 32, approximately $480,000. By year 13, age 35, the portfolio reaches between $760,000 and $830,000. $800,000 on a salary that started at $65,000 and grew modestly over 13 years. Not a windfall, not an inheritance. A system held consistently. Here are the 3 steps to carry from this. Step 1. Set your housing cost as a deliberate strategic decision. Target below 25% of net income and treat it as the highest leverage single choice in your entire accumulation plan. Step 2. Implement the raise protocol before your next income increase arrives. Decide in advance that 50% of every future raise goes directly to investment automatically, before lifestyle absorbs it. The decision needs to exist before the raise, not after. Step 3. Invest in low-cost, broadly diversified index funds inside tax-advantaged accounts and do not interrupt the compounding. It requires you to stay in the market consistently, at low cost, for long enough that the compounding becomes the largest contributor to your balance, which in this model happens around year 9. Those 3 structural decisions, in that sequence, applied to an ordinary salary, produce an extraordinary result by 35. Not because the person who built it was extraordinary, because the system was. $800,000 on a normal salary is not the result of an exceptional income. It is the result of an ordinary income held inside an exceptional structure for long enough that the compounding does the heavy lifting.